Hello, what have we here?
Welcome into Dragon Ball Super Dope. Thank you for checking us out. If this is your first time here, subscribe and all that nonsense. We put out a show sometimes. All right. Irregular check-in, because we'll get into the because on the other side of this, but there is some Dragon Ball news in relation to Sparking Zero, and we're going to talk about it. I'm very excited for this game to come out, but it has been a little bit since I've talked with you guys here on the public feed. Patreon members know that I release like extra, unedited stuff and advice pods early over on the Super Dope feed right now, or for Patreon feed. So, check it out. But we're going to talk about the Sparking Zero update to this point. And I say update meaning like update in terms of news. Okay. So like what we know about the game so far. But then we're also just going to check in on some other shit that I've been consuming. And when I say consuming, I mean in terms of media consumption. I love media. But here's what we're going to do. First things first. The release date for Sparking Zero, I think we talked about it the last time we did an episode with Ray. We rumored that it was going to be October due to some data leaks or something like that. And sure enough, it's coming out October 11th, 2024. Perfect timing. Why? It'll be, I think, maybe a week. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe we will have the Dragon Ball Daima anime premiere maybe a week before this game comes out. So 2 times the Dragon Ball punches to your mouth. Bing, bang, boom. That was 3 sounds, I understand. But they're saying October 11th, 2024. Great. They've also given us a bunch of different information, not only regarding like the characters that'll be playable, which I imagine at some point will be everybody, because just looking at the established characters through the previews, it's like, Jesus, you put this MF in? All right, cool. You must be doing everybody then. And I'm very excited about that. But they also give us some information about specific game modes. And I don't think it's been anything crazy outside of one thing that I read that I thought was so cool. And I think will be very engaging for people who, not only are Dragon Ball fans, but people who like really buy in and adopt this game as like their new way to express themselves about Dragon Ball content. We'll get there in a second. So we're reading this from an article on fucking Men's Journal is covering this. What the fuck? I Googled something like Dragon Ball Sparking Zero game modes, and I clicked the first link and I just clicked through it real quick. And I was like, oh, it has them listed. Great. But I only just realized this is from Men's Journal. How strange is that? Oh boy. All right. Every Dragon Ball Sparking !0 game mode. So episode battle, custom battle, and bonus battle, which bonus battle is also included within custom battle. As the name implies, episode battle mode lets you experience the battles from DBZ and DB Super with 8 characters that you can play as. This includes Goku and Vegeta, of course. I wonder who the other 6 will be. Probably Gohan. That's 3 of 8. Probably Piccolo. That's 4 of 8. Probably Trunks. Future Trunks. 5 of 8? Who are the other 3, you think? I don't know. Kid Trunks, Goten? No, why? Why bother? Oh, because they fuse and they fight Boo? I don't know. Who cares? What's new here is that certain segments will play out in first-person view, giving fans a new perspective on Akira Toriyama's legendary saga. What's wilder is that depending on certain actions taken, the story can be altered to differ from the anime. That's cool. So you have the choice, you have like some free choice stuff in episode battle mode, and it can change the outcome of what you would normally expect in the anime. That's cool as fuck, dude. I'm playing Knights of the Old Republic right now. Excuse me, Knights of the Old Republic 2. Because I'm watching Acolyte, and Acolyte has some KOTOR vibes. So I'm playing KOTOR 2 on Xbox 360 right now. And I love that shit. It's like the little subtle choices that you make will impact not only like your outcome in the game, but also like where your alignment is in the game and things like that. So it's cool that they have at least an aspect of that in Episode Saga. It says here for the next one, custom battles. Custom battles will let you alter the state of any battle with different modifiers for an alternate experience. Okay. Within these, bonus battles are battles with different win conditions, cutscenes, and other variables. In the edit mode, players will also be able to customize the pre-battle and post-battle cutscenes. That's cool. These custom battles can also be shared online with other players. As for split screen fans, here's the good news. DB Sparking Zero will include a split screen mode, but it will exclusively be set in the hyperbolic time chamber arena. Well, I don't like that. I feel like split screen, given how vast some of these previews have been, like and how like big in scope they've felt, I feel like you have to have a split screen in every mode. You can't just put that shit in the room of spirit and time. Fucking Men's Health dub loving motherfuckers. Hyperbolic time chamber. What were you, 9 in 1999? 9. Anyway, that's the mode that I think I'm most excited about and I think is most interesting, is that people will be able to custom build like certain parts of a battle, and you have the outcome and you have the, I don't know how the hell they're going to make the cutscenes and the end scenes. Because like, let's say this is just a really simple what if scenario. What if I do the Saiyan saga, but Nappa lives? Goku doesn't kill Nappa for some reason. What happens at the end of that when Goku, is beaten to shit and all his friends are like facing off against Vegeta and Nappa and they're like, oh no, they're going to fly away now because we kind of beat him. Like, what does the cutscene look like? Do they make like a custom cutscene to be like, Nappa's still alive and he's well? Vegeta liked him in this timeline. Like, I'm just kind of curious, like, what that capacity looks like. You're obviously going to have to pick from like a certain amount of potential outcomes in that respect, especially when it comes to intro and outro cutscenes. There's only so much shit that they can program. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it in terms of the game modes revealed. Oh, bonus battle. All right, that's the thing that's included within custom game mode. I did see something about a 5-on-5 mode. I feel like that's probably accurate. It's like a mini. No, I think 5-on-5 modes are actually earlier things in the Budokai Tenkaichi series. Who gives a shit? I don't know. I don't care. I'm going to buy this game. Here's the thing that I'm going through right now, boys. I thought that I was about to buy a PlayStation 5 last month. And then Feds, longtime friend of the show, one of my best friends for the last 20 years, talking to Feds the other day. And I was like, hey, man, I think I'm finally jumping off the Xbox train. I think I'm going to buy a PlayStation for my next console. And he's like, oh, is there a new Dragon Ball game coming out? And I was like, why do I ever buy new game consoles? It's to play the new Dragon Ball game. It's just how it's been for the last 15, 20 years, whatever. So he's like, Xbox is backwards compatible. And I should probably Google this shit because it's probably only with exclusive or like specific titles. But I think it's backwards compatible back to the OG Xbox, like that big cube X looking motherfucker. And if it, like, I got so many Xbox games from Xbox, the OG Xbox, Xbox 360, and a handful of Xbox One games. So I was like, oh shit, maybe I get an Xbox then. And then Sony was like, hey, you remember them Marvel vs. Capcom games that you loved so much when you were a kid, Kyle? And I was like, in fact, I do. Yes. What about them? And they were like, we're going to make them all. I think they're going to remaster them, which is cool as fuck. I don't know what that means. Maybe just like clean them up a little bit, but still keep that 2D animation or whatever. You can't fuck with the aesthetic of those games. They're going to make all of those Marvel vs. Capcom games available on Sony, I think pretty cheap. So now it's like, do you want it to just be a Dragon Ball machine, Kyle? Or do you want it to play Marvel vs. Capcom as well because you love them shits? And it's true. I love them shits. So I don't know. I think I'm still leaning PlayStation though. Although backwards compatibility, I guarantee I would not be able to pop in a fucking copy, a hard disk copy of NHL Hits 2002 into the modern day Xbox and have it play with no goddamn problem. Even if that disc is in immaculate condition, they'd be like, nah, that company didn't pay to have it read on this Xbox. That's my dog. His name's Jace. That's like a Dragon Ball thing, huh? Everyone's always like, oh, you named him after a Dragon Ball character? And I'm like, no, I didn't. My brother adopted him from a shelter, and I'm pretty sure he came with that name. So, also, he spells it different. I think it's like Jace if you spell it as face with a J, you know, instead of like Jisoo with the Jeice. So that's that. Glad we explained it. Glad it all out there. That's really all I have in terms of Dragon Ball. Hope that was entertaining for you guys. Why am I making this episode today? I'll tell you why. I've been thinking about making an episode today, or not today specifically, but like over the last, let's say 2 weeks. I've been watching a lot of new television. A lot of new shows premiering right now, and that's sick. I need my mind engaged in something because Dragon Ball's not being made right now. I don't know if you heard, but the dude who made it, he fucking died. So I've been watching a few things, but I think specifically what fired me up to sit down and do it today, and this is like the first solo episode in a super long time because I'm just generally uncomfortable sitting in my house talking to myself as there's other people around listening to me talk to myself. That's a whole other fucking can of shit. So we're not going to get into that, but yesterday I was on the phone with Rayshawn talking about like a thing that we're going to record in a few days. And he's like, so what's up with your show, man? And I was like, oh, you must be in Super Dope. It's like, yeah, what are you working on your show at all? And I swear to God, if I could reach my hand through the phone and bitch slap this motherfucker all the way in Cincinnati, Ohio via the phone, I would have. I was like, well, I work on our show pretty much every single day. It's called The Advice Pod. You should check it out sometime. And he was like, no, I mean Dragon Ball. And I'm like, can you hear the heavy sigh? He does this to me like once every few weeks, like maybe not quite once a month, maybe a little bit more frequently than that. Maybe like once every 3 weeks, we'll say. He'll just throw a little dig in there about Super Dope. Why aren't you making Super Dope? And it's like, well, Rayshawn, again, to reiterate and drive the point home for forever, Toriyama died and there's no new shit coming out. And I'd like to do the new shit because that gets me excited and, you know, I'm like energized and happy to talk about it. But I got so impatient with him when we had this exchange yesterday where I was just like, dude, why do you do this every time I talk to you on the phone? What do you mean? I said to him, dude, I'm like, I feel like you do this to me like once every few weeks. What's the deal? Like, no, it's just like, I like to hear your show. But it just fired me up to be like, bitch, I don't have much to fucking say. I guess I can ramble for 8 fucking minutes about some video game updates that are going to come out in like 4 or 5. For a video game that's going to come out in 4 or 5 months. So I did. But I also don't want this whole thing to be negative. So I think Ray fired me up. So thanks, Rayshawn, you fucking dick. And then we will, also, I'll ask you to go check out The Advice Pod. I promote that a lot every day. It's coming off passive aggressive. I understand. It's a passive aggressive feeling. I'm working super hard on advice. And when I say I'm working super hard, I mean, I'm working super hard. Either way, it's been a frustrating uphill battle, but still what's that fucking word? Persevere? Sisyphean tasks of making the funnies or whatever. There are some things that I am feeling positive about in terms of the television. We're going to talk about them mostly in a spoiler-free environment. But before I hit any of the things that I've currently watched, a few days ago, there was an announcement that there's more details to come on. They're supposed to come out on July 17th. So within the next 3 weeks or so. And it is about, finally, this has been rumored so many times over the last 20 years, but they're really going to do a reboot of Ranma 1/2. If you have listened to this show since the beginning, especially, you'll understand. But like, I bring up Ranma all the time. Ranma was my true first hyperfixation as a child. 4 years old, I got the Ranma 1/2 Hard Battle video game for Super Nintendo. I played the motherfuck out of that game and eventually went on to start watching the anime. Now, if you've listened to like the Dragon Ball Origin Stories episodes that have littered throughout this podcast feed of how I originally found Dragon Ball, there's two different stories. It's the one that I'm originally conscious of when I woke up real early one day at like 6 o'clock and it was on TV. And then there's my dad's version where he's like, you were watching the Cell games at 2 years old on VHS bootlegs from Japan. Not that I was cognizant of it, but whatever, that's a whole other story. The first thing that I remember being super obsessed with was Ranma. And if you're not familiar with Ranma, it's made by Rumiko Takahashi, same person who made Inuyasha. So it's before they made that. It's about a martial artist. It's more or less of a parody on like shonen anime and manga, like the martial arts battle shit. It's kind of a parody on that in a lot of ways, but also kind of like a rom-com thing. That's more Takahashi's speed with her previous works in fuck, I know the name of it. Baizan Koku, that's what it's called. That was like a straight up romantic kind of comedy thing. So this has elements of both the parody of the shonen stuff, but also the romantic comedy. It's or the romantic whatever. It's a martial artist named Ranma Saotome. Him and his dad go on a training trip to China. They fall into some cursed springs. When they emerge from the cursed springs of Chusenkyo, they are now cursed. Whenever Ranma is splashed with cold water, he turns into a woman. I'm super fucking interested to see how they deal with that in 2024. Even if it is Japan, they probably just like won't even give it that much thought. Just be like, yeah, now he's got tits. And I realize Americans are flying off the fucking handle about the boy suddenly having tits, and they're going to go shoot up a fucking kid's hospital about it. But that's the premise of this anime. His dad, when he gets splashed with cold water, turns into a panda. There are several other different people throughout the series that they're friends with, foes, enemies of, rivals of, love interests of. For instance, Ryoga, one of the main rivals of Ranma and probably my favorite character in the series. He follows Ranma to Jisenkyo to like try to get revenge and then like kind of like do the same training as him or whatever. He falls into a fucking spring. He turns into a little tiny black pig and his name is Pichon. Anyway, after all this cursed shit happens to Ranma and his dad, Genma, they go back to Narima, Japan. I could be wrong on the name of the fucking prefecture or the city or whatever. I don't know how geography works. They go back to basically live with Son's original like best friend, his training buddy. Like if Son was, I guess Son would be Vegeta. He's the responsible one who like started a family and had 3 daughters. He's now unfortunately widowed. And his dumb fucking idiot buddy and his kid, Genma and Ranma, show up to just crash for a while. And the idea is they make an arranged marriage for Ranma to marry Son's youngest daughter, Akane Tendo, so that they can carry on the legacy of the Anything Goes School of Martial Arts. Obviously, hijinks ensue. And there are many different bitches who have already been promised to Ranma because Genma is the scoundrel that he is. I feel like I just gave a pretty thorough synopsis. It's fun, man. I love it. I think I love it for the same reasons that I fell in love with Dragon Ball and that it's so funny, but also the action and the character dynamics are very engaging. It is a very funny show. It's much more comedically inclined most of the time than Dragon Ball. Well, I don't know. Maybe they do maybe they do a nice job of layering it because there are like really pretty nice story arcs. I'll tell you what, guys, the manga is better than the OG series. The OG series, I can't believe I'm talking about Ranma this long. This is interesting. The OG series for Ranma, the first 2 seasons, I believe it was just the first season. It actually got canceled in Japan because it was just not a great adaptation, I guess. Or maybe they weren't happy with like production quality. I don't know. But they bring it back literally the next year and it's called like Ranma fucking Nikoban or some shit. And it's like, you know, just the rebooted series, different animation staff on it. It's still very similar, but in reality, I do have like a heavy like nostalgia for that first season of Ranma. It's so good. And I kind of actually think I prefer, not that the designs are like so different from season 2 and 3, but they are different enough where like things look a little bit more rounder and a little bit more closer to Takahashi's actual original artwork. Like this was a comic book that, oh, I should say I started off with the video game, graduated to the anime. So I did it in reverse. I went video game, anime, manga. They started putting out manga through Viz at the same time I was picking up Dragon Ball issues. And the manga is infinitely better than the television show. For some reason, the television show just continued to do a whole lot of, I don't want to say like original filler, because a lot of it is borrowed from characters or ideas or like small little plot lines from the manga. It is a very episodic sort of series. Like, sure, there's progress because like Ranma learns like crazy techniques and shit. And there's like little mini arcs within the episodes, but for the most part, the episodes are usually pretty self-contained. I do wonder if they're going to carry that over into this new anime. I feel like they have to, because even the manga feels mostly episodic. But for whatever reason, when they were making this anime, there's so much good manga material that they did not adapt. And I believe it goes through 8 seasons. I actually fell off after season 4 because it gets kind of goofy and like not in a very fun way, but like we've already done this sort of way. It's like a retreading. It's like they let it run for 4 more seasons longer than it had to. If they wanted to just tell a much more concentrated story, they could have. But as a result, they leave out a lot of the late manga stuff for Ranma, Herb, Mint, Nadoka, the Ranchan being found out. Like there's so many like little things that they just didn't adapt into the anime and it sucked. And then it stopped. Like they didn't give it any sort of grand send off or anything. They did do a few OVAs, not OAVs, but OVAs. Definitely different. They did do a few OVAs after the series wrapped, but again, very self-contained, super episodic within the greater context of the show that you're already familiar with. And then the series just didn't get renewed, I guess. So, I'm super fucking happy. I feel like whenever I bring up Ranma to somebody as like my first true love and the thing that got me into anime in the first place, even though every single one of you motherfuckers think the only thing I've ever watched in my life is Dragon Ball, not the dozens and dozens of other shit that I watched 20, 10, 15, however fucking long years ago. I'm sorry I don't keep up with normal shit these days, but Jesus Christ, back the fuck up. Whenever I bring it up to old school anime heads, they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that in most cases. And they're like, but I never watched it. There's a lot of titties in that. And there is, man. First two seasons, so many titties. Like literally borderline problematic. That's why it never caught on in the US as much as it could have. Because when they brought it over on those videotapes, the first 3 seasons of those videotapes, VHS tapes, 2 episodes, $25 a pop. We were good to buy one like once a month. My dad was very nice to me about sort of, that sort of shit. Eventually, they went to 3 episodes around season 4 or 5 because they were like, yo, DVDs are about to come out. They're a thing. The economy's fucked. 9/11. Either way, I'm just curious to see how they're going to adapt it because Rumiko Takahashi's manga has a ton of titties in it as well. And I feel like they're going to have to be a little bit more, I don't know, what's the right word? You got to be a little bit more covert about it. Like, instead of just Ranma opening up his fucking karate gi and showing off his titties the first time he gets splashed with cold water, you got to, like, do that shot from the back now. And then have Akane's reaction be like, oh my God, I'm seeing boobs. Something like that. Like, ahooga, boobs. What's fun about Akane's character is that she could very easily pass as a lesbian. And they do sort of allude to things like that throughout the entirety of the story. Like, yeah, you're a perfect fit for him. He's half girl. That's like your thing, right? And she's like, what the fuck? It is a super underrated, underappreciated series, and I'm so happy they're going to be doing a revival of it. I have not been this excited about a revival of anything ever outside of a revival of Dragon Ball when Super came back as a series. So, July 17th, they'll be releasing more information about it. I don't know how it's going to be. If it's going to be, I hope it's like a week-to-week thing. I imagine it's some sort of anniversary celebration. Oh yeah, it would be what, 35 years? I believe Ranma started in 89. and I'm 35. Wait, what year did Ranma start? We got to look it up, boys. Hold up. I'm not trying to get bad info. How wild would it be if it's no anniversary year at all? And it's just like, yeah, we just felt like it, you know? Ranma, one half, manga release date. Let's see. 87. So what the hell? August 19th, 87. That's really not a consequential number at all. What, 37 years, I believe? Huh. Hey, whatever. I imagine it'll be a limited run, is my point. It would be very cool if it was like a condensed, like 60 episode series and like really shows the idea of Ranma showing up in Japan, him getting promised to Akane, and the next 60 episodes is just like a speed run of all the greatest Ranma stories and the actual arc of him becoming Akane's husband eventually. That would be cool. I don't know, man. All right, so I'm done talking about Ranma. I appreciate you listening about that. I just definitely talked about Ranma way more than I talked about Dragon Ball, which is funny as fuck. I imagine if it's a week-to-week thing, I might want to cover it, man, because I don't know the most about Ranma by any stretch of the imagination. I am no sort of Ranma expert. The stuff I do know, I know like the back of my hand. Like if it was in an episode I owned on a VHS tape when I was 9 years old, I can quote it to you. And it's sad, but I'm just like comfortable and aware of my situation in life. So probably want to cover it. I feel like that'd be fun. In terms of stuff I'm actually watching, I'm going to do this as spoiler free as possible just to kind of round out the episode. My Hero Academia season 7. Holy shit. Whew. You know, with the exception of the first half of season 5, because that shit dragged. The whole 1A versus 1B battle. That was fucking the worst of the filler shit I've ever seen from that show. But I feel like every season they get incrementally better, and somehow they're doing it again this season, and it has been so much fun. Last week's episode, actually, I'm recording this on Saturday the 29th, so just for point of reference, a new episode came out today as well. Last week's episode was a Todoroki heavy episode with a tremendous payoff that I've been waiting for like the better part of 5 or 6 years. So fucking good. And this week has I don't want to say a payoff, but like it was also a very fun episode coming off the heels of that Todoroki thing. So if you're not watching, go watch it. It is super worth your time. I know certain people like to wait until the whole season's out and binge it. I am genuinely just enjoying watching it week to week as somebody who hasn't read ahead on the manga and have no idea how it ends. Hey, by the way, update. Kohei Horikoshi, that's his fucking name. He announced last week that there's only 5 more chapters left, and then it's done. So maybe by now, it's 4 chapters left, because I'm pretty sure that shit's weekly. It's going to be over very, very soon. So within the next few weeks, you're going to be seeing mad spoilers on the internet about the finale of the My Hero manga. Guard yourselves as you need to. Some people love the spoilers. I personally don't, but this season of My Hero has been so goddamn good, dude. I do have to admit, though, I am having a hard time remembering that there was a new episode every Saturday. Like, when I wake up on Saturdays, I'm slow to wake up because I wake up, Monday through Friday pretty early in the day. And I'm just like, it's Saturday, sleep in, man. Who cares? So I do. And then I wake up and I kind of do some nothing. I'm very good at procrastinating on the weekends lately, especially when it comes to editing podcasts, because I still run like 6 other fucking shows. And then like around 6:30, 7 o'clock, I'm like not winding down for the day, but I'm like, what am I going to do tonight? And then I'm like, oh shit, My Hero. And then I watch it. And it is fucking amazing. The other things that I've watched, I'm going to start with The Bear. The Bear season 3 just dropped, I believe, Thursday night. So Thursday the 27th, I believe it came out. It's a 10 episode season. Again, we're not doing a spoiler thing or anything. I've watched the first 7 episodes of the 10 episodes in just about the last 24 hours. And there are so many goddamn things that show does from a storytelling perspective that just fascinate the shit out of me and entertain me endlessly. It's so fucking remarkable. Like, you guys always know I'm always like the character dynamics. How do these motherfuckers interact? That show is like a fucking, like a master study on character dynamics in any given moment and any given situation and how they interact, and if it's high or if it's low, if it's angry, if it's happy. It's such a fucking fascinating show to watch, dude. They also do this really cool thing that I'm sure they've employed in past seasons, but over the last year, I've started to do sketch comedy writing. So now when I watch things, I'm a little bit more inclined to at least think about it as how it would be written on a page. Like, if you wanted to write that into your script, how would you describe it? And that's because I've started to use screenwriting software and I'm writing these things and whatever. It's been like a really beneficial thing that one of the only beneficial things I've done for myself over the last year is learning more about not only sketch comedy, but like learning how to write in a proper script format. What I'm watching The Bear right now, they have these moments where it is like a super high intensity, high anxiety driven show. If you ever worked in a kitchen, you probably don't want to visit this show as fear of like triggering some PTSD memories you have, but it's so much fun in a lot of ways as well. But they do this thing in the show where it's like these long shots of like whatever, Carmi or Sid or Tina or Richie, all these main characters. And like they have the 1,000-yard stare on. And you're like, oh shit, what's up in Richie's brain right now? Richie must be having a tough time about his daughter or something. Oh, Tina must be worrying about paying her rent. Oh shit, Sid must be worried about, dealing with Carmi's fucking bipolar ass, all that shit. And then they do this very cool edit where it brings out like 7 or 8 different things from previous episodes that you've already seen. It's just pulling past footage, but it'll pull together 7, 5, 6, 7 very distinct clips just to kind of give you the little inside peek of what they're thinking about in their moment of anxiety or anguish or whatever. And it's, it's a show that unfortunately has a lot of different, there's like a few major deaths that kind of help drive the plot in a few different ways. So they flash back to those characters and seeing little snippets of them in those moments of like, man, what the fuck is Carmi standing here looking at the goddamn wall for? And then it's like, and like you see 7 different images of things that he's thinking about right now. And it really just puts you immediately in the headspace of that character. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it because they do it so effectively. All of that praise I just heaped though, right? I'm 70% the way through the season. 7 out of 10 episodes. I do have to say, this season feels a little bit aimless. Like, it's got all that cool shit that I just said. And I love the characters so much and the characters are so well written. But like the overall purpose, the overall story, where they're headed. The first 2 seasons do a great job of like giving you a definitive goal over the course of a season. And the goal that they've set up for themselves this season just seems so fucking flimsy to me. And it's I don't know. I mean, it's also like a fact of like they have to make money and they have bills and I don't know. It just doesn't feel as compelling from a narrative perspective, but what's keeping me hooked is all the cool character interactions and the funny shit. Like, it's a very funny show. So if you don't watch The Bear, please watch The Bear. If you've worked in a kitchen, please watch The Bear because you will enjoy it even fucking more. I promise you that. Also, you might have some PTSD flashbacks, but that's not on me. You understand. The last 2 things that I'm watching right now, and I wanted to put these 2 back to back, basically. Again, no spoilers or anything, but they've had more or less the same type of reaction online. And if you were around in 2018, you know that I have no problem telling these fucking these weirdos when they're being weirdos. So I'm watching The Acolyte week to week, which I watch most of the live action Star Wars shows. I'm pretty sure I've watched all of them except Andor. I understand the irony in that Andor is very much frequently considered the greatest live action Star Wars show to this point. I've watched everything except Andor. Not a big Star Wars animated guy. I think all of those are I just don't like the aesthetic of it. It's not for me. It's tough for me to follow. It's tough for me to check it and care about. It's tough for me to invest into. Live action, I'm into it. So I'm watching The Acolyte. I'm also watching season 4 of The Boys. Now, The Acolyte and The Boys, season 4 of The Boys, so far, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination in either case. I'll start with The Boys first. I'll start with The Acolyte first. If The Acolyte was about, again, no spoilers, just the general plot of The Acolyte. If The Acolyte was instead about two twin white boys born to a clan of warlocks who were somehow entwined with the Force, most of you motherfuckers would think this is the greatest Star Wars show ever made. But it's two black girls born to a tribe of, or a clan, a coven of witches. And that was it, dude. You guys checked out after that. Hey, the story is by no means a perfect story. I think it is a very interesting case. I honestly think it's sloppily edited, and I wonder how much of it was due to like executive interference or like things like demanded reshoots or whatever. There are some episodes that move in a very confusing way, but there are some episodes that move in a confusing way on purpose. And I think people are confused, or like, and why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you fucking put these two into the same category? It's like the show is clumsily edited in some ways. It's clumsily written in some ways. And I think some of it's on purpose to help advance the plot and ultimately give like a big reveal at the end, which I think is honestly the most obvious reveal in the world, but I haven't heard anyone else say the reveal, which I think is stupid. I'm not, again, we're not spoiling it for anybody, so I'm not going to say the reveal here. I'll talk about it after, I guess maybe the season's over, just to like record check myself. I don't know. But I feel like people think it's clumsily written because it's bad. That's a funny sentence I just said. I don't know. I just think some of it is kind of like deceptively written to like be able to get you to buy into the mystery a little bit more at the end and the eventual reveal, which again, I think is a super obvious reveal and not very engaging at all. But again, I have heard many people fucking throw out my theory. But also people are just really happy to hate, you know? Like it's very easy to hate on minorities and a thing that's not representative of you. And when you've been a Star Wars fan your whole life and now you're 25 on the internet and vocal and feeling, you know, impacted about other injustices in the world, one of the few things that you feel you can control is giving your commentary unsolicited to the internet about why these two black girls piss you off. Hey, by no means do I think it's a fucking perfect show. I don't think it's the greatest Star Wars show they've ever made or anything like that. It's enjoyable. It's watchable. I'm having fun with it. I'll watch it through the season end just to see how it goes. But anybody who's like saying, this is going to kill the franchise, this is the worst thing Star Wars has ever made, I will direct your dumbass eyeballs back to a thing called The Rise of Skywalker. That's the worst thing they've ever made. Also, did you watch the Ben Kenobi and the Boba Fett show? Because even though those are characters we all know and love regardless of circumstance, and there's some very cool, very kick-ass scenes within those episodes, those shows were not good. The best part about the Boba Fett show is when they take a fucking break for 2 episodes and it turns into The Mandalorian season 2.5. And Boba Fett fucks off for 2 weeks. That's the best time that Boba Fett has is that show. And I only say that as a way to be like, dude, stop being so goddamn dramatic. I realize you feel you can be, and you want to be divisive, and you want to get the clicks, and you want to hate the black people. I get it. You want to just hate everybody because it's good for metrics. I think that's what makes it even more like infuriating to me is just knowing that like maybe it does bother them a little bit. But the reason I'm hearing about it and the fact that it bothers them a little bit is because that they know the inflammatory content is good for the algorithm. Even if it's not your favorite Star Wars show, that's fine. I get it. It's not great. It's not fucking, I've enjoyed it. I've had fun. I think it's okay. It's got problems. But for anybody to be like, this is the worst show in the world. Let me tell you why. Go woke, go broke, bitch. It's like, dude, even if you do feel that way just a little bit, does anybody genuinely care that much? If you do care that much, you're a fucking psychopath. You need to get a goddamn hobby. But the reason people put that shit up online is because they know it'll do well with people who are like, want to have their opinion reinforced, is maybe the nicest way to put it. They're like, I'm not enjoying the show and I'm not sure why. I'll tell you why. I'm a YouTuber and Disney's woke. And now you're unwoke and you've been red pilled or whatever the fuck. Same thing with The Boys season 4. Boys season 4 has had the problem that The Boys has experienced for me personally is that there are way too many characters. And because it's like season 4 of a show and it's like all these fucking long time serving actors, I'm sure Eric Kripke, the creator, producer of the show, is like, yeah, man, Frenchie, Kimiko, we're going to give you these like long standing storylines throughout the season. And it's like, bro, there is so much more interesting shit going on outside of the fact that Frenchie's making out with some dude who, you know, I almost gave away more of the situation, but that's what everyone's mad about. They're mad about two things. Frenchie is quote unquote suddenly gay. When you first meet Frenchie, he's like in a throuple with a hot chick and like a hot dude. And it's like pretty evident that he, swings both ways. I just don't think that people have thought a lot about that because he very soon thereafter meets Kimiko, and Kimiko is played by Karen Fukuhara, who's fucking beautiful and is basically a mute Deadpool. Oh, I never thought about her as a mute Deadpool. That's pretty funny, huh? Anyway, there is like a few like forced feeling storylines, but the main thing is like, if you pay attention to politics, like genuinely pay attention to politics like I do, and I'm not doing like a political thing or whatever, but it just, you have to, for the sake of the conversation, you have to at least point this out. So many people are upset this season. There is an episode that revolves around Homelander going on trial, basically. And a lot of the things that go on around that are very, very evidently on purpose, on the nose, very much intentionally reminiscent of things that have gone on in the Trump administration. But if you've watched the first 3 seasons, they have been doing that literally since the very fucking beginning. And now that it is like the least overt that it's ever been. It's the most on the nose that it's ever been. This is what you're gonna, Homelander. We're just making Homelander Trump, and I don't like they're making fun of Trump because they're making fun of Homelander. Like, dude, if you've been, I just cracked my neck. If you have been idolizing Homelander in any such way, the joke has been on you all along. And now that you're like caught up to speed on how fucking dumb you are, you have 4 years worth of shit talking to make up for, is what I feel is happening. Season 4 of The Boys, it's tough to say, dude, because I really enjoyed last season. Season 3, I honestly don't see how they top it. It's been announced that it's going to end with season 5. Maybe season 5 they pull all the stops. Season 4 has not been as enjoyable as season 3 was to me to this point. So season 4 I'm putting below season 3. Because season 3 had Soldier Boy, and that's just such a fucking fun, interesting piece of shit character. Jensen Ackles absolutely nails that role in a billion different ways. But I don't know, man. Season 4 feels like they're building towards something. But like, if you had to take the 5 seasons, knowing that season 5 will be the finale, season 1's the setup, seasons 2, 3, and 4. Season 4 to this point has felt the most filler-ish, we'll say. It's not to say I'm not enjoying it. I'm enjoying the shit out of it, and I am always looking forward to that new episode dropping on Thursdays. But that's the shit that I've been watching. This has been a nice little talk to myself for the last 45 minutes. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know at all. I don't know what's going on with this feed. At least for the summer. We'll probably have a few more episodes between now and the end of September. I would like to do the GT stuff, but I honestly can't promise anything because my life, I feel so stretched right now with everything, my day job, and I've got like between 4 and 6 podcasts I'm managing that I do not talk on. And, you know, I'm not trying to sound like ungrateful or anything, because work is work and work is good and getting paid is good, bitch. But, you know, it is like in terms of energy and time allocation, it is tough. But this is my favorite show to talk on because I just talk about nerd shit. You know what I mean? And that is the stuff that is most near and dear to my heart. We are still doing the advice pod Monday through Thursday. That'd be a fucking weird release schedule. Monday through Friday for advice. If you don't subscribe on the YouTube channel, please go do that. There is a link in the show notes. So I'm trying to hit the next subscriber goal. I totally whiffed it on my goal for the month of June. I had to take a week off because of my brain feeling broken. Because personal stuff happens too in between all the work stuff. Personal stuff, not great. But yeah, we've had some cool episodes in the last few weeks. My sketch teacher, Sam Brown from The Whitest Kids You Know. If you don't know that sketch group, look him up. Look up the Hitler rap. Can't believe that's the first one I'm suggesting. Look up Nail Gun. Look up Lincoln. How Lincoln got assassinated. I'm just talking too much now. Sam Brown recently came on. Jackson White is a regular contributor. We're just doing a lot of fun shit over there, and I feel like it's fighting an uphill battle. Mainly because we swear and we say cuss words, and we don't really follow the rest of the YouTube rules. But like when randos find us, they're like, "This is hilarious. I'm not sure how I was blessed with this today from the algorithm gods, but I'm thankful." And I'm like, "Yeah, bitch, tell your friends." So you tell your friends as well about Super Dope, Advice Pod, whatever we're doing, whatever support you can give is much appreciated, even if it's just listening. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna go. What time is it? It is 8:15 on a fucking Saturday. Maybe we'll do an anniversary episode for August, like mid-August. But anniversaries are always so... It's just like scheduling people is a fucking nightmare. Rayshawn's great and reliable, thankfully. I love that motherfucker for the rest of my life. But sometimes I want to have like people in the room, like a Mike Norm or a Brandon or a Jimmy. And it's like, I can't even schedule with those dudes. As regularly as I see Mike Norm, if I went down to, I'm going to go to his house at some point in the next couple hours. As regularly as I see him, if I was like, "Hey man, let's make a podcast," he will go and hide in his room for the next 3 fucking weeks to make sure that we did not do a podcast. I don't know. Things are weird, but I'm happy that I still talk to myself on the internet. That's like a real fulfilling, fulfilling. That's like a real freeing feeling. Fulfilling, freeing feeling. Triple F's, bitch. All right, I'm done. I'm talking too much. I really appreciate you listening. If you got to the end here, if you're on YouTube, like the video. If you don't subscribe to us on Apple or Spotify, please do that. Yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys at some point soon. Unless I die in between making this episode and the next episode. Always entirely within the realm of possibility, by the way. That happens. I love y'all, and I'll see you in the next life. Ooh. Yeah. Think I just wrote myself a little bit of a podcast note. Yeah. I've been listening to Dan Soder do Randy Macho Man Savage impressions lately, and they're just, yeah, they're so fucking funny, dude. All right, I'll see you next time. See you later. Randy Macho Man is the man.